Hi, and welcome to your 21st iOS programming tutorial. And today, I'm going to be showing you how to implement local push notifications within your iOS application. A push notification is one of the notifications that might appear on your device when you receive something like an email or a text message, or you might have a certain game that sends you a notification every week or so saying, "Come and play the game." And that's what we'll be doing today. We'll have an application, and 5 seconds after the user closes the application, the device will receive a banner notification at the top of the device, one of the notifications that appears in the top of the device, whichever application they are in, and when clicked on it will take the user back to the application. I'll then also show you how you could set it to the notification to appear on a certain date, rather than just after a certain interval of time. For example, you might have a Christmas application and you want a Merry Christmas notification to appear on Christmas Day. Anyway, this is what we'll be creating. Once the users open the application, if they then close the application and wait 5 seconds, a push notification will appear on their device. It doesn't matter whether they're already in another application or not. Here's the notification, and if I click on it, it opens my application. So let's get started and create this application in Xcode. So open up Xcode and create a new project. I'll just create a single view application and call it notification, but again, that's all up to you. The organization name, company identifier, and devices and class prefix are also up to you. Click next and then click create. For this tutorial, we're actually not going to do anything in main.storyboard or view controller. It's all done in the app delegate. If you don't know what the app delegate is, I have done another tutorial on it, but you don't really need to know. I'll briefly explain it now. The app delegate pretty much talks to the device, so the iPhone or iPad, and communicates with the device about your application. It's the delegate between your application and the iOS device. So if you go into your appdelegate.m, you'll see there is already a lot of code in here set up for you. There's a few main methods. There's application did finish launching with options, which is when your application initially launches. Application will resign active, which is when the application is disrupted due to something like a phone call, a text message. The user might open up Control Center or something, and that's very similar to application did enter background. If you've got background mode set up as it says here, the app will call application will terminate, which is down here instead of this. But seeing that you probably don't have background mode set up in your application, don't worry about doing that. If you do have background mode set up in your application, or when you follow this tutorial you get errors for some reason, try moving the code into application will terminate. I'll show you that at the end. Then there's the application will enter foreground method, which is when the application opens again and the simulator did become active. We'll be putting our code in did enter background, and once the application enters background, this is all called everything that we put inside these two curly brackets. Inside here we'll create a date, which will be 5 seconds after the current time, and after that 5 seconds the application will send a notification. So let's get started. I'll type out all the code and just follow along, and then I'll explain it all at the end. So type nsDate asterisk, and we'll call this alarm time, equals, open 2 square brackets, nsDate, and then just type date. And that's the current date. Then type date by adding time interval, and type 5.0. Then add a closing curly bracket and a semicolon. Then type UI application and asterisk app equals UI application shared application. Close the square bracket and add a semicolon. Then type UI local notification, and we'll just call this notify alarm equals 2 square brackets UI local notification alloc, and then close that first square bracket and then type in it, close the second square bracket and add a semicolon. Then type if notify alarm, and then inside the statements bubble type notify alarm dot fire date equals, and then we'll set this to be our date, which is alarm time. Then type notify alarm dot time zone equals ns time zone current default time zone. Close square bracket and add a semicolon. Then we've got notify alarm dot repeat interval equals 0. Notify alarm dot sound name equals, and then we can do at talking mark, and then close square brackets. Then notify alarm dot alert body equals at talking mark semicolon, and then and then we can do just square bracket app schedule local notification notify alarm, and then add a semicolon. That's all you really need to do. Now there's a few other things that we should do to make sure that we don't get any errors or that small bugs don't occur. Firstly, we need to add some code to application will enter foreground. What this will do is, what we need to do is, if the user quits the application, then after 5 seconds this notification is meant to run. But if within like 3 seconds they then return to the application, then we don't want them while they're in the application to get a notification from the application saying, come and open the application, if that made any sense. Essentially what we need to do is, as soon as the application is open, we want to cancel the notification. It doesn't matter if you want to set your notification to open on a certain date. As soon as they then close the application after opening it, that will then happen again. It's just if we have an interval, say we wanted the notification to appear every 5 seconds, and then the user opens the application, we don't want it to appear while they're in the application. So just type inside application will enter foreground UI application asterisk, and we'll just call it app again, equals UI application shared application, then type ns array asterisk old notifications equals app scheduled local notifications, and then add a square bracket, and then type if square bracket old notifications count is more than 0, so the more than symbol and then 0, app cancel all local notifications, add a semicolon. So then that's all the code we need to do for now, but we do need to set up the text for the alert to show. So inside notify alarm.alert body, let's enter some text for the notification to show. I'll just make mine, this is a push notification. Now inside sound name, if you want your notification alarm to have a particular sound, for example, you might have an animal application and you might want it to play a frog sound or something, then that's where you put the name of this. So let's say I had an alert sound, I'd just type alert.wave. Wave's the best file type for the sound name. I would also need to import it by going into my files inspector, right clicking on my project and clicking add files to notification. Make sure destination copy group items into destinations group folder is selected, and then I'd select my sound. I don't have a particular sound I want to play, so I'll just leave this blank, but it does give me the option to add it in later on. What the repeat interval does is, if we wanted well, let's first look at all the code. So what we're doing is, we're creating a date, which is the date that the notification will run on. So the date is going to be the current date, which is nsdate date, and then we'll add 5 seconds to that. So 5 seconds after the application is closed. Then we're just creating the application, so that, that's pretty much just the application. And we could just use application because we're in application did enter background. But don't worry about that, we don't need to do that. Then we're creating a local notification, which is just the local notification. And if notify alarm, which is our local notification, that pretty much just means if notify alarm contains something, and it should because we initialized and allocated it. So if this isn't run, it means there's an error. That's why we're doing this if statement here. If there's no error, then we're going to set the date for the notification to appear, the fire date, to be the date that we set up here, so the current date plus 5 seconds. We're going to set the time zone just to be the default time zone, which is whatever time zone is set up on the user's device. The repeat interval we could set to, for example, 2, and that will mean every 2 seconds, so it would on the 5th second, 7th second, 9th second, and every 2 seconds after the 5th second, the notification would appear. But we don't want it to appear more than once. Then, as mentioned, we've got the sound name, and then finally the alert body, which is the notification's text. We can do a whole lot of other things, so if you type notify alarm dot, and then you can scroll through what type of head comes up with, and you'll see all the various things you can set it to be. You can see there's fire date, and we could try typing alert, and we can change the alert image, which is, as you can see, identifies the image, use launch image when the user taps or slides the action button or slider. Essentially that means that your application has a launch image, obviously, and you could potentially change that launch image just for that notification. We could also change the alert action, which we can, that's a bit more complex, so I won't explain that now. And then there's a whole lot of other things we can do. We've got our fire date, obviously, and we can set it to have an action specific to it. And there's even more that we can do, and I suggest scrolling through that and experimenting with the various things that you can do. Anyway, finally, we're scheduling we're saying app, so our application, schedule a notification, so make a notification appear, and we want that notification to be notify alarm. And we've already, preset the date for it to fire, so we don't need to do that down here. Then if the user enters the application, we're going to just delete all the current notifications, so that if the user had, if there was about to be a notification sent from the application, we wanted to stop that immediately, so that the user doesn't receive a notification from the app that they're currently in. That doesn't make much sense after all. Now let's run our application in the simulator and see if it works. So go Command R or click the Run button to run your application in the simulator, and let's see if it works. So our application is obviously just going to be a blank screen because we haven't actually set up anything else. Now once the simulator loads, you can see it is just a blank white screen. Obviously if you wanted to add things to your application, you can do that in the main.storyboard or the view controller and so on. Back in the simulator, let's quit our application by clicking the Home button and wait 5 seconds and hope that a notification appears. And in about 1 second, yep, there you go, there's our push notification. If I leave it, it'll end up in Notification Center, and I can obviously do a whole lot of other things. I could, for example, let's run the application again, and then let's quit it again, and the notification will once again appear. And the other thing that I could do, and I'll show you in a moment, is make it appear in the lock screen. And there you go, there's our push notification, and when I click on it, it goes to our application. Now I've quit the application, go into Hardware menu and click Lock, which is Command L, and that will lock the device on the simulator. As you can see, it's just open because we've got a push notification. And I can slide to view it, and there we go, we're back in our application. This is a really cool thing that you can do with your notifications. You can change the notification type to be an alert rather than the banner, and the user can obviously do that from the settings menu under, I think it is privacy, and they can go into alerts. You don't have that option though in the simulator to change the notification center settings, so you'd have to run it on a real device to see that in action. So I hope you found this tutorial interesting, and if you've got any questions about general iOS development or push notifications, local push notifications specifically, comment on this video, message us through YouTube, message us through our Facebook page, facebook.com/99centsappdevelopment, or go to our website and get in touch with us, 99centsappdevelopment.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.